Bitcoin is close to becoming worthless.
Let's go. Now, what's the Bitcoin?
Bitcoin's like rat poison.
Yeah. Oh,
The greatest scam in history.
let's get it.
Bitcoin will go to fucking zero.
Yeah.
The Bitcoin Monthly is dead. Long live the Bitcoin Brief. I'm going to keep this intro brief because I've been editing all day and I was supposed to have this episode finished and over to Jordan about 3 hours ago. Before we start, I do want to say a big thank you to everyone who's been boosting and supporting the show, and a huge thank you to Foundation Devices for keeping this show alive. We cover a lot of the updates in this episode, so I won't go into massive detail. All I'm going to say is I've been using Foundation Devices from the very beginning. There's never a time when I want to try something else because this is the best hardware out there with the best team. It's fully open source, it's beautifully designed, and it is fuckwit resistant. If you haven't already seen or used one of these devices, check them out at foundation.xyz. And if you want a discount and let them know that I sent you, you can use the code Ungovernable. The link's in the show notes too. Enjoy the show. Bonjour.
Good morning, sir. How are we doing?
Very, very well. Feeling a bit emotional today, to be honest.
Oh, really? Why's that?
40 episodes together, 40 months of recording every month. Does that make us brothers or family in some way, or what does that
There's
mean?
definitely some sort of bond there, I would agree. Yeah. I can't actually believe that. Like you said earlier offline, completely just passed me by that we'd done so many shows, and we're ironically about to double the output as well. Or we've already started doubling the output, should I say.
We have, yeah. We just slightly jumped the gun on number 39. But yeah, 40. As I was writing it in, labelling it before we recorded, I was like, fuck, that's actually such a long time. Like, I remember actually first having the conversation about doing a monthly show after we've recorded just like a general podcast. I remember thinking, oh, that'd be really cool to chat to this guy a little bit more. And here we are.
Do you ever go back and listen to the old ones? I think I might do it. I mean, don't get me wrong. I know I'm going to fucking hate it. Yeah, we're a well-oiled machine now, but
Yeah.
I can imagine back in the day it was very, how could I put it? Of a lower
Less
quality,
polished.
let's say. Yes, less polished. There you go. Thank you.
Yeah.
But yeah, I am going. I've added that to my to-do list for this week to go back
To
and
go
listen
back.
and to sit through an hour of hearing myself cringe.
Yeah, I haven't done that actually. I used to like really obsess at the very beginning over like, listening back to shows and then being like, I should have mentioned this, or I should have done that. But I think when you just do as many as we do, and also I listen to it all in the editing.
I was just going to say, yeah.
I never feel the need to listen back. But yeah, maybe one day.
I must admit, I do listen back because I like to kind of hear how I describe things so that I can kind of hone my craft somewhat and think of different ways to break down different topics and stuff. And I am very, very thankful for the amount of time that you put into editing and making me sound way smarter than the live version.
Yeah. And also the editing is me going back and listening to everything, and like I quite often come up with ideas from doing it, or like, this bit could be broken up, or this thing could be changed, or we could add this in. And so it's like I would do if I'm painting. I would like consistently go back and go over things and change things and adapt things, and that would be a process that would go on for months and months and months. So maybe it comes from that.
Yeah, it's definitely additive to the show for sure. While we're on this note, just something that's completely unplanned and popped into my head. I'm curious what percentage of our listener base listens to this show on more than 1x speed? Because I found out fairly recently that this is quite a common thing, that people will crank up the listening speed for a lot of their podcasts.
Mm-hmm.
Do you do it?
No, I can't.
Yeah, my brain just can't take it in.
I could take it in, at a faster speed, but I don't enjoy it. And for me, like, I'm listening to podcasts because I enjoy it. It's something that, like, if I'm on a drive or like I'm on a walk, occasionally I'll do it. And it's just a chance to like switch off from everything else and just like break away from things. And if I'm suddenly listening to something on 2x speed, it's just not enjoyable. I understand why people do it though. If they just want to take in information, maybe I would have done it early days of Bitcoin when I would just literally, I would consume like 10 hours a day of information, just all I did for like a couple of years. And so then maybe it's like, okay, well, I can double my output here.
Yeah, that makes sense from that perspective, I guess, if your brain can handle it. So curious what our listeners do. So, hit us up in the comments to let us know what speed you use to
they
listen
just
to
mute
our
it.
tones.
They turn it on just to support us, just so our numbers look good, and then they mute it and go, fuck that.
And then just feed the transcript into an AI for a quick 1-sentence summary.
Yeah, summary. Well, let us know.
But there's been some fantastic feedback on the new show. Obviously, we'll get into that with some boost shortly. But to everybody that's kind of messaged via the various different platforms and given us some great feedback on the new show's format and frequency and name, etc. Thank you all for getting involved. One thing I will say, Max, no 10 million sat boost yet to change the name, which I guess we could look at as a good thing, because that was a bit of a double-edged sword. We could have got ourselves into a bit of a pickle there.
Well, I think long term it's for the best, isn't it? Because 2 retards, 1 cup, or whatever people would have called it, would not probably do well in the charts or anywhere else. So I think it's probably for the best. But 10 million sats would have been nice. I think Solex threatened to do it, and was it wartime? I can't remember. Someone else was talking about they were considering it, but no one did it. So the offer's closed, and we are sticking with the Bitcoin brief.
I was keeping my eye on Geyser.fund just in case, they were going to do like a Bitcoin whip round to all collaborate in on this and have a little vote on it. But nothing popped up, thankfully. So I think we survived that one.
We did.
In other news, thanks to, in no part to Mr. Nathan Day, you're back on Nostr full time, mate. How's it been?
I'm Nostrilling.
Nostrilling. Oof.
It's underwhelming, I would say. I'm persevering. I'm trying. He was just so frustrating. He literally badgered me into submission. I just thought, if I have to see one more message from him or Ben Gunn fucking whinging on about me not being on Nostr, I don't know what's going to happen. I don't think the show would have continued. So I thought I'll give it a go. In summary, not great. The Android app, whatever it was that I started using, just fucking Amethyst, totally spazzed out. None of the connections would work. I tried resetting it, tried doing the Nostr.wine and all the different ones that people suggested. Just nothing would connect. Fucking useless. Deleted that out of frustration. Used Damus. That is pretty good. It's been pretty easy to set everything up. Connected that to my fountain so I can actually message and respond to people. That was relatively slick as well. But actually, the best experience that I've had so far is on, what's it called? I messaged about it the other day. This motherfucker here. Primal, but just in a browsing window on my laptop.
Mm-hmm.
By far the best experience. Like, I don't find it to be shit. So far, it's been good. Like, it feels like Twitter, basically. Mm-hmm. I've chosen a nice dark mode. It gives me all the trending stuff on the right. It feels familiar. It's pretty fast and easy to use. That's what I'm liking using the most. And then after that would be this Damus thing.
Okay.
People have been responding and zapping and all that kind of stuff. And I'm starting to understand the appeal of it, because it is a lot better than it was when I gave up on it last time, whatever, a year and a half ago or something like that. It is a lot better now. So I have some hope that it continues to improve, and as much feedback that's been negative as I've had on Fountain using it, and that you can only respond if you have it, after a conversation with Oscar a couple of days ago, I do understand why they're doing what they're doing, and we're going to have a conversation. He's going to come on. We're going to do a confab.
Nice.
And I'm starting to see that there could be something here. I'm not, as you know, technical enough to know whether this is actually just going to be a fad and bullshit and just a load of nonsense with a load of Bitcoiners fucking wanking each other off over this thing called Nostr. It could well be, but if it does what I'm being told by some people that I respect or what it can do, then it's pretty awesome. So I'll keep trying.
Very cool. Appreciate the detailed feedback there. I just have 2 points back to you. You mentioned that you like Primal on desktop. Were you aware that they've got cross-platform mobile apps as well? So if you like that UX, then you can have that on your phone too.
I downloaded Primal, the app, on my Mac and fucked around with that. I think I prefer Damus on the phone.
Okay.
But I much prefer Primal on the Mac.
Yeah. And the fact that you just summarized that so beautifully leads me perfectly into my second point, is that although, yes, you've had some less than ideal experiences across the different apps, you've already experienced the whole or the primary use case of Nostr and the architecture of it, in the fact that if you don't like one client, you can just fuck off and go to another one or another one or another one and just take your social graph with you. So whilst, yes, the reason why you were switching wasn't great, the fact that you can is kind of the whole point.
Yeah, no, I get that, and I appreciate that. I think it's cool. I think the other thing that's really pulled me back, and one of the main reasons I did give up last time, was that is a brilliant thing that you can take your social graph with you and you own your tweets or whatever you call them. What do you call them? Notes? Mm-hmm. You own your notes and you can leave and go to another platform and no one can technically remove you. I like that, but what I don't like is I don't feel my NSEC and my NPub is particularly secure. I don't feel, like if I was using an NSEC and an NPub in the way that I am, but it was my private keys for Bitcoin, I would feel extremely nervous. Mm-hmm. And at some point, this data or control of this data or me signing messages could be very valuable to me. Right now, I don't really give a fuck. Like if someone wants to steal my NPub or whatever and post a dick pic or do something, I literally don't really care. But, if I continue to use it and it gains a certain follower count and the show continues to grow, and then someone posts something saying, like me endorsing a certain product or service, which turns out to be a scam or something like that, then that would seriously concern me, because then maybe listeners get harmed. And I'm not comfortable with the storage or use of these keys. And I wish there was a better way. And I've heard that people are working on things, but right now, coming from a Bitcoin mindset, it doesn't feel comfortable or safe.
Yeah, absolutely fair. And you're absolutely right that there's multiple different ways in which this is trying to be fixed. A couple of ones that spring to mind are the Amber app, which is Android only, which is very simple open source app that holds your NSEC and then communicates with things like Amethyst or Primal or whatever, so that any time that you hit like or you repost or you send a note or upload a picture or something like that, for it to be signed, the request goes locally across your phone from one app to the other to Amber for it to be signed by the NSEC that Amber's holding. So you can compartmentalize it so that you're only putting your trust in one small open source app versus just pasting your NSEC everywhere. Another alternative is like a self-hosted signing server that's called NSEC Bunker. I've never actually tried that one, but I just know that it exists, and I'm sure there's loads of other stuff as well. Key rotation is, I believe, still an unsolved problem, and I think that seems to be the holy grail, in the fact that if your primary NSEC gets compromised or stolen or whatever, then having a way for you to cryptographically move from one to another so that people know that, okay, anything from this old key, ignore it now because it's considered compromised. You will now find all of my happenings at this new NSEC here. That's unsolved at the moment, but the clever people work that shit out.
Do you know what would make sense to me is something like you create a key offline on a device like a passport, and then when you use your NSEC and that's put in anywhere, it's not actually your NSEC. It's like a bit like is it BIP85 child seed?
Yeah, that's what's already been worked on. Some similar architecture to that. Yeah, so you're on the right lines.
So something like that would make perfect sense to me. It's like, okay, I have this thing that could be very, very valuable to me. So I'm going to create that offline, air-gapped, and then there's like something that's derived from that only I can control, and I can flip through them if it ever gets compromised, but no one ever touches that like master key because that is actually held in this offline device.
Yeah.
I'd put a lot more effort into growing and working on Nostr and like getting through the frustrations of it as I have with Bitcoin if it was at that stage, because to me then I'm like, okay, no, this is not only potentially valuable, but I actually can secure it as well. Right now I'm like, this could potentially be valuable, but I probably can't secure it. And if it is valuable, someone's probably going to fuck with it.
Yeah, makes perfect sense to me. Yeah. Like I say, I'm sure we'll get a solution, something similar to that within the next 12 or 18 months. Because it is the biggest problem that needs to get fixed, aside from like the spam side of things.
Okay. Watch this space.
Quick tangent, and for the listeners, Max doesn't know I'm going to ask him this, but I had a note last week, and I wanted your opinion on it. Not on the note, but your answer to the question. So the note said, everyone has those small, insignificant things in their life that they know shouldn't annoy them. Those things annoy them anyway, despite us knowing them having zero material impact on your life. Here are 5 of my examples. I was asking for other people's opinions as well, but here's mine. Number 1, bits, as in Bitcoin denomination. Like people are still trying to make that a thing. Like just no. Number 2, pronouncing Nostr, and maybe I should do that with an American accent because it seems to be mostly Americans that say it that way. Yeah, let's go on Nostr. Number 3, when things are priced $5.99 instead of just $6.
You're going to have a very hard time in life if that annoys you because it's everywhere.
Yeah, I know. And I know it makes no difference to me. It makes no difference whatsoever. I'm just like, but let's say I'm trying to buy 2. If I want to buy 2 things and they're both something 99, like it's much easier for me to add them up if they were just round numbers.
And then you get the 2p change and you're like, oh, fucking hell. Exactly. I've got a load of shrapnel.
Yeah, what am I going to do with that? Yeah,
I agree.
Number 4, coffee shops that only sell drinks in one size. Now, this, again, is probably my own problem because I like to go to, like, small kind of, I guess you call them.
Little independent.
Little independent ones that you generally see wanky ones that you see the hipsters in with their MacBooks in the corner, and they're probably a designer of some sort.
That's me.
Yeah, and I go to them as well because obviously I experience this problem, but clearly it's not a big enough issue to stop me going, but it still annoys me because the coffees that they serve, although they're beautiful, like I want it to be double the size. And I don't want to have to buy 2 at £4 each.
I know what you mean. Yeah.
Again, it doesn't annoy me enough that it's going to send me to Costa or Cafe Nero or anything like that. So, number 5, food outlets that force you to order on a screen or via an app instead of just speaking to a human being.
Agreed. It winds me up as well because it reminds me of the COVID times where everyone had those stupid little fucking order on a QR code things. Yeah.
Max, I want to hear yours, and I also want to hear the listeners. So hit us up with a comment with your trivial things that annoy you, even though they have no material impact to your life.
Do you know what's the most trivial that annoys me almost every single day? And it annoys me to the point where I almost lose my shit, like proper rage. My washing machine / dryer, which is almost always going because kids and dog and fucking everything else. It does this beep when it finishes. It's like beep, beep, beep. And it doesn't just do it like once or twice or 3 times. It continuously does it until you actually go and turn the fucking thing off. Yes.
What the No. I'd have to throw that out.
Oh, mate, it annoys me so much. I fucking lose my shit every single day. I've turned it off before we started recording, even though it was halfway through drying, because I was like, I know you're going to fucking start beeping when I record. And if that happens, my laptop isn't going to go out the fucking window. It doesn't annoy my missus at all. She can just leave it. Sometimes she'll leave it running and I'm doing something and I'll hear it for like an hour and I'll just be raging. Oh, why don't you turn the fucking thing off? She's like, why? Well, because it is... Trivial, but yeah, hate it.
Yeah, similar to that, you just prompted another one in my brain. My wife, when she cooks, she will leave the extractor fan running after she's finished cooking.
No.
You know, I live in a fairly small house and the kitchen's like right next to the living room. So like if it's going, you can't hear the TV.
No, I couldn't cope with that.
Yeah, me neither.
Is that because we're both maybe slightly
Autistic.
like leaning towards the autism side?
Absolutely. But so is my wife. So is she.
Is she?
Yeah, oh, absolutely. More so than me. She's way higher up the spectrum than me.
I often wonder that because like a lot of the friends that I have are also maybe leaning that way and very particular about things. And then like my missus, who's like the most laid back person in the world, like literally couldn't give a fuck. She just won't care about stuff like that. And like the specific way that things like have to be lined up in the kitchen or where things are, or like noises, any noise will wind me up so much. It like, I can't bear it. Like there's two noises at the same time when I'm trying to concentrate on something. Whew.
Not happening.
No.
Well, funny enough, I've just quickly checked the comments on my original note, and there's one here that you'll resonate with. It's from Nick, and it says, "I'm annoyed when home doors are loudly closed instead of turning the handle slightly to allow the door to close quietly."
Yeah, that's fair enough.
Another one from him. I love this sort of stuff. It's so funny. From the same guy, Nick. Software version numbers that have more digits than a phone number. We feel your pain having to read them out on the show, Nick.
Which Nick is this? Clockenga?
Yes, yeah.
Yeah, that is annoying. Good points. Well, if anyone else has any unreasonable things that they get annoyed with, let us know. I'll adopt them.
Last one, and this will divide the room, and then I'm just going to mic drop and walk away from this one.
Go on.
Toilet paper orientation must come over the top and never under. I agree,
okay.
by the way. Yeah, that's from Son of the Moon.
I don't know that would annoy me that much. It wouldn't annoy me that much because I just am happy now if there is toilet roll, because my oldest loves nothing more than stealing toilet roll and then running away with it, hiding in a cupboard and eating it and spitting it everywhere. Like, Jenny, if there's a toilet roll that is, or actually kitchen roll, if it's left anywhere, it will take the chair from the kitchen over to whatever surface the thing's on. It will climb up, take it, scurry away, hide, and I'll be like, oh, it's quiet. Hold on, nothing's being broken here. Oh, okay. And then I go and have a look and it's just there, just munching and spitting it all out everywhere. So it's very often I go to use the toilet and I'm like, oh, for fuck's sake. So just any toilet roll does for me now.
Nice. Okay. Well, yeah. Comment below with your minor annoyances that have zero impact on your life. That was quite a tangent, but I enjoyed that.
Yeah, I enjoyed that.
Should we do some boosts? Oh, no. Before we do boosts, I apologise. Quick 2 more points of AOB.
Yeah.
There are 2 panels now available on the Bitcoin Magazine YouTube channel from panels in Nashville. The first one and the most important is the Free Samourai panel with Econo, the 2 lawyers, Tor, and forgot the other guy's name, and Diverter as well. Obviously, incredibly important, the most important news topic that's been ongoing for quite some time in the whole Bitcoin industry. So please go and check that out and familiarize yourself with it. The second one is myself with Seed Signer and D from CoinKite talking about multi-sig. And if you want to hear what the fuck all the guys are talking about in terms of my calves, you can go and watch it there.
I've been training calves just before we do it. I've been training calves 3 times a week now because I just feel so inferior. I'll finish a session and then I'll just be like, just throw in some calves quickly. Let's just do like 15 minutes of calves. I'm going to try and catch up with you, mate. It will never happen, but I'm trying.
Nice to hear I'm having a positive impact on your life.
I would say negative because I just feel so inferior. I wake up every morning, I just look in the mirror and I go, you'll never be Q. You will never be Q.
Never give up on your dreams. Right, should we hit some boosts?
Yes. Hashlatet. 101,101. Thank you, Hashlatet. Thank you, Daddy. Love heart. I told you they were ungovernable. Anarchist flag. I think this was on the last show from our new sponsor, wasn't it? I assume that's her sugar daddy.
Oh, of course. Yes, I remember. Hats off to Hashlatet, by the way. Like, she seems to be at the top of the boost list every week, well, every other week now.
She's keeping us going.
That is a non-trivial amount of sats, so thank you so much.
We appreciate
Speaking also
that.
about non-trivial amounts of sats, Bon has boosted with 101,010 sats. Happy for you,
Wow.
Max, and everyone involved in the podcast. Let's fucking go. Ungovernable Misfits is one of the highest signal podcasts out there. I wholeheartedly agree, and I truly thank you for that very, very generous boost.
Yeah, thank you, Bon. You've been there from the beginning, and it's people like you who have kept this going and helped me take this leap. So thank you, mate. Late Stage Hoddle, 55,555 sats. Congrats on the new life plans, Max. I wish you only the best. QnA, it was good to meet you briefly at Nashville. I appreciate all you both do. But I will say I was expecting a full mask, like a helmet over the head for your talk. Sounds like Bifrost Manufacturing needs to make a real helmet for Q&A for next conference. Ooh. Well, firstly, thank you, Late Stage Huddle. Thank you very much for your support. And secondly, yeah, that is actually a very good idea. They can make literally anything from any material that you could think of, that you could dream of. They can 3D print in metal. They can 3D print ceramic. They can build anything. So I guess what we're thinking is maybe something like an Iron Man style helmet that would clip on and give Q the full coverage, and everyone would recognize him, but also keep his privacy. That's not a bad idea.
I would, if somebody makes a real helmet version of my robot avatar, I would 100% wear that on any talk I ever do in public.
Okay.
My only request is please try and make it out of some material so that I don't lose my
Sweat.
vision when I speak, because the get-up that I had on in Nashville, just a mask, hat and sunglasses,
So
every
hot.
time I spoke, the hot air was trapped behind the mask and it was coming up out of the top of the mask, straight into the sunglasses and then fogging them up. So
Right.
anytime that I spoke, I just couldn't see anything at all.
Okay.
And then slowly, as I stopped speaking, slowly the mist from the glasses would dissipate and then I could see everything again.
Well, if anyone can do it, it's Bifrost. Maybe you can do something in your Imaginarium. You can create something. Maybe we say that they can have like a Bifrost stamp somewhere on your forehead or something like that, so people know who's made it if they make it.
Chad F., our resident Podverse maximalist, boosted with a very generous 50,000 sats. Congrats on making the jump, Max. Here's some sats to get you started.
Thank you, mate. I appreciate it. Barn Miner. Oh, so now the gates of hell you repent. Oh, so now at the gates of hell you repent. Go fuck yourself, Charles. Okay. I guess that's Charles Muriel.
I think he's talking about Mr. Munger, our recent sponsor.
Oh, Charlie Munger. Yeah. You're right. Of course he does.
We'll eat? How would you say that?
We all eat. It's Chet.
Jeez.
And it's we all eat. And that's his little motto.
We all eat.
He's always generous. And wherever he goes, he makes sure that everyone eats and everyone's looked after. So we all eat. well,
he's boosted with 21,021 sats, and he says, fuck yeah. About fucking time, Max, you English cunt. John and Crown been working their asses off while you've been feating with the faggins.
We love you, Chet. Rod Palmer on Nostr. Get after it, Max.
Huxley, boosted with 20,000 sats, said good luck, Max.
Banana Man with 20,000 sats. Just a love heart. For me, probably.
Short and sweet. Mr. Mister with 10,101 sats says 2 weeks to go. Yippee.
Rod Palmer. I connected my grandpa's Bluetooth. He doesn't know about AI, and this orange pilled him.
Late Stage Hoddle boosted 10,000 sats. Looks like an error on Q&A for the last boost. Maybe this one works. If not, then maybe someone will notice and fix. Otherwise, where do those days end up? I presume autocorrect has stuck a finger up his bum there and screwed him.
What was it? Node not connected or something?
I think it was a certificate. The certificate for my BT Pay server, the SSL cert, had run out and I didn't notice because somebody else messaged me on Nostr saying that the boost was failing. So after I renewed that, everything seems to work. So I'm guessing it was that. So I apologize, Late Stage Toddle, but it looks like your boost made it through anyway. So thank you.
Okay. Fundamentals. Awfully tempted to spend 10 million sats to name your new show Rock, paper, Bitcoin. Funny Talkers edition. Maybe it's tax deductible. Congrats, Max. We all look up to you in the podcast game. Thanks for showing us the way and best of luck. That is a major concern. Do not ever be looking up to me, mate. And anyone who hasn't checked it out, Rock, paper, Bitcoin, well worth a listen. And thank you, Fundamentals, for all the support. I appreciate you, mate.
Bird Flip on Nostr boosted 10,000 sats, and he said, I'm bullish on this Bitcoin show. Let's fucking go.
Nice. New listener. I saw him posting yesterday as well. Had a passport, posting a little picture of it.
Great choice.
Yeah, very nice choice. Okay, should we jump into some news and then we'll do the rest of the boost later because we've got like fucking 70.
Yeah, there was a lot of boosts. Not complaining. Thank you so much for your support. Yeah, we'll come back and do some more later. Okay, on to the news. Mr. Pavel Durov has been released on €5 million bail, but he is not allowed to leave the country of France, presumably, so that they can grab him once they've decided some other shit to throw back at him. So this is the Telegram founder, CEO, that was captured by French authorities a couple of weeks ago under the usual shtick of being complicit in all of the illegal things just by running a server that people chat on. So he's been released on bail, can't leave the country, presumably because there's, they continue to investigate everything that's going on with Telegram. At the same time, there has been some slightly concerning changes to the FAQs on the Telegram website.
I heard about this. What are they changed?
So the general gist of it is that you can now flag or report quote-unquote illegal content to Telegram moderators from within private chats, essentially meaning that these private chats are not private. Shock, horror. Yeah, so there was a question before all this went down that said, there's legal content on Telegram, how do I take it down? It says, all Telegram chats and group chats are private amongst their participants. We do not process any requests related to them. And now it says, all Telegram apps have report buttons that let you flag illegal content to our moderators in just a few taps. And it goes on and on and on, but basically that applies to all chats now, it would seem. But again, like I said this last time, but I want to reiterate it, like, Telegram has never or should never have been looked at as a private messenger. The whole stack was not fully open source and still is not fully open source. So even though they had these quote unquote private chats, there was never a way for you to verify that in the same way that you could with something like Simplex or Signal. You were already trusting that these private chats were private. Now, based on their actions with law enforcement prior to all this going down, you could probably have a fairly good guess that maybe they were telling the truth, but you were never able to verify it. But this is kind of another nail in the coffin of the fact that, potentially these private chats are no longer private because you can flag illegal content to their moderators. This action, there's no smoke without fire. This is almost certainly as part of, whatever's going on with him and the French authorities to kind of soften the blow or keep himself out of jail. Yeah.
I never really put a huge amount of trust in the secret chats, but I still used them because I was like, well, it's better than nothing if someone didn't have Signal or Simplex or PGP or whatever. But yeah, obviously now that makes it pretty clear. I guess, I think it's been said many times, it's like it should really be viewed as like a social media platform and consider it that way in terms of like, this is viewed by many people. It is not secure. It is not private, but it's really fucking good at what it does. And there's nothing else that really competes with what it does yet. We still run the Meshtadel on there. We still run the Pleb Miner group. We still do it, like organize a lot of shit on there. And it's just kind of, it's the place that a lot of people are. But if there was something else that worked as well, you might see the move. I think Signal's kind of close, isn't it? But it's just not quite as easy to use or have as many features.
Yeah, agreed. Indian exchange, crypto exchange WarZeroX, which I've never heard of until this news article.
Oh, it's one of the best, mate.
Yeah, well, it was. It's halted withdrawals after losing $230 million worth of its crypto asset reserves, essentially 50% of everything it owned. So not a massive exchange. Obviously, that's a lot of money, but comparative to the big dogs.
Losing it from trading or losing it from a hack?
It's been hacked. The Mumbai-based firm said one of its multi-sig wallets has suffered a security breach, which kind of is a little bit alarming because they say that, I think it was like a 6 key. Yeah. What they said, its wallet had 6 signatories, 5 of whom were within the team. So it's essentially an inside job. It has to be, unless they've been extremely careless with where they're storing each of these keys. And again, it depends on how many of those 6 it needed to sign. That's not communicated in the news article.
I generally assume they're all inside jobs.
Yeah.
Whenever I hear like they were hacked, I'm like, were they though? Were they really? Because it would be so much easier for it to be an inside job. And it's like, how do you make obscene amounts of money very quickly would be to do something like that.
Mm-hmm.
I either think it's inside job within the company or it's like government or some other pressure that wraps it up to look as though it's a hack so that they can have those funds for some other dirty shit that they might be doing.
Yeah, but it's okay. They've got a recovery plan, which they've since communicated to their users. They've got a plan and everybody's going to get 55% of what they previously had back.
Oh, that's all right then.
That includes users that, so let's say you only use this shitcoin casino to buy, I don't know, let's say Dogecoin, and Dogecoin wasn't part of the hack. You still got 100% of your holdings. Then you're also only going to get access to 55% of it. So they're socializing all the losses so that everybody gets 55% of their stuff back, irrespective of which assets you were holding on there. Genius.
What do we call that? Borrow from Peter to pay Paul.
Yeah, or just screwing over everyone.
Brilliant. Love it.
We have another Bitcoin solo miner that's mined a block, mate, in the last couple of weeks.
Ooh, was it you?
It wasn't me, unfortunately. One of my BitAxes has actually been acting up a bit lately, so hindering my chances even more. Seems to be back hashing happily again now, but not sure what's up with it. But yeah, this solo miner is not quite as staggering as the previous one where we knew it was a BitAxe, because this miner had quite a lot of hash rate for a solo miner.
Okay.
They had 38 petahash.
Ooh.
Which is quite a lot, I believe. I'm not great with mining, exponentials to go from terahash to gigahash, blah, blah, blah. That's kind of yours and John's field. But that sounds like a lot to me. Just looking at the Bitcoin Mag article, it says this miner would, on average, solve a block every 4 months just on their own. So I guess maybe it's not quite as staggering, but yeah, that's quite a lot of hash.
That's a lot of hash, yeah. Well, congratulations, John. Glad to hear you finally hit that, mate.
Where are we next? X. I failed to call it X, actually. Twitter has been banned in Brazil. Mr. Rocketman Musk has been in a bit of a spat with a Supreme Court judge over there for some reason. I'm not entirely sure why. They've closed all of their offices in Brazil, basically just said, we're not complying with I think they wanted to block certain accounts, and Elon and the team just basically said no. So the judges fought back and said, okay, fuck you. Nobody in the whole country now can use your app. The really frightening thing here is that they are threatening the general public with an $8,874 daily fine for anybody found accessing it via a VPN. Daily, which equates to 50,000 reais, the local currency, which is wild, right?
I don't think Brazil generally has the highest earners. So
exactly
$8,000 in the US per day would fuck most people's lives up. I think people in Brazil, on average, you're destroyed. It's fucked.
Yeah, so I think just reading down the article, it all stems from the judge ordering Twitter to block a lot of supporters that are linked to the former right-wing opposition. So again, no shock, but it's all political. Musk and co have told them to go and fuck themselves, and then the judge, have upped the ante and said, okay, see ya. Not good, but again, we've been very much, or I've been waxing lyrical about Nostr and the importance of it. Here we go. Maybe this is the impetus for an influx of an entire country.
Yeah, it's not great. Not surprising.
No. Speaking of censorship, the chat control regulations are rearing their ugly head again in the EU. There's been word that the powers that be are going to start working on this as of last week once again. Just a quick recap is that it failed to reach the required vote level a couple of months ago, so they pulled it. And they are now starting work again, presumably to drum up more support so they can get over I believe it's 65% support level to bring this into action. And if it is brought into action, then I think it goes live in by December 12th or 13th, 2024 is the warning. So it could be as soon as this year, where they leverage laws to be able to decrypt your encrypted chats. I believe they do have a watered down proposal, which isn't as egregious as it once was. But for me, the way I understand it, that this is a binary thing. You either let people have encrypted comms or you don't.
Well, you don't.
Yeah, like it's a 0 or 1 choice.
So is the pressure being put on citizens or companies? Because I mean, obviously it's going to continue sliding this way, but like I just wonder, is this pressure that's going to be put on Signal and like all the other encrypted apps, or is it going to be on the individual? Because if it's on the individual, presumably things like Simplex make this not possible for them because they couldn't have the back door.
Yeah, so if I was a betting man, they'll probably take a 2-pronged approach. The first one will be that they'll pressure regulated entities, i.e. Simplex, and companies that have this feature that is, would become illegal or against the law if this regulation is passed. So they'll pressure them first because, it's a centralized, easy target, isn't it?
Yeah.
Once they cut all those heads off and they believe that they've kind of stopped the production or proliferation of these types of apps, that's when they'll move to the individuals then, because that's a much more difficult thing to police and to control.
Serious question. Where do you think is going to be the place that is free the longest? Because my assumption is EU and UK and all of this area that we're living in, they will move in lockstep. And if it's not 2024, it will be 2025, 2026, 2027 or 2028. Like it's not like they're going to just see the error of their ways and go, oh, we're going to stop being cunts today. They'll continue. And if that's the case, where the fuck do people who care about freedom and privacy go other than online using open source technology and everything else? Like if you actually want to live a free life in person, in your human flesh meat body, where would be your guess?
Honestly, I don't know. Don't know, maybe somewhere in South America. Obviously not Brazil. I would say probably just somewhere rural, like away from the big cities, because even now, like obviously there's loads of laws in every single country that mandate what you can and can't do, across your whole life. But in reality, the more rural you are, like the more shit you can get away with.
Yeah, definitely.
You know what I mean? And I'm sure that that's going to continue to be true, irrespective of what country you're in. Yes, there's going to be a spectrum of, okay, well, we know that, I don't know, in France, for say, just as an example, they put more resources into, spreading the catchment area and catching people miles away from the big cities versus somewhere like Norway where they just don't plow resources into that or something. I'm just using examples here. I think that's going to continue to be true, and it's just a case of finding the right balance of living far enough away from all the cities versus being close enough to all of the amenities that you need to be able to live your life. And obviously that looks different for different families because of your personal situations and stuff. I think the biggest superpower most people are going to have, at least in the short term, is being nimble and being able to move and play that arbitrage. But, speaking from personally, as you get older, your family ties tend to get deeper and deeper rooted, and that ability to just be nimble and move, quickly trends towards zero.
Yeah, it's when all the COVID stuff was happening, when we got extremely close to having mandated vaccines and all the other crazy shit that was happening. And I had self-banked on talking about it because obviously he's a doctor. He was about to lose his job, and they at the very, very last minute pulled back on it. But he was leaving, and the line that me and my missus had drawn in the sand was, if it becomes mandated, we're gone. We're not accepting that. At that point, like before kids, it wasn't really a massive issue, we were like, yeah, we'll just do it. Everything that we had that really mattered could be put in a shipping container. And we were like, fuck this shit. If this is what the UK is going to be, we're gone. But now, like, yeah, it is different once you have kids and everything else. It's like, it's a very different experience, the idea of moving. Maybe it's me being pessimistic, but the idea of like moving into the countryside is a realistic one. The idea of actually fighting against this move to take away freedoms, the only thing you can do is just take control of the things that you personally can take control of, whether that's using open source software, learning how to use the tools, learning personal survival stuff, becoming more self-sufficient in whatever way you can, learning to shut the fuck up about things and just keep things to yourself. Just all these sorts of things. That's where I'm like, okay, that's where you should put your effort. But I have practically 0% chance on governments moving in the opposite direction.
I think that's a safe bet. Next thing I wanted to draw attention to is for those of you that like to get your nerd on, particularly around Bitcoin development. Peter Todd has released a soft fork / covenant kind of dependent layer 2 review, which is a great kind of, I want to say high level summary, 5,000 mile view of all of the different stuff that you probably hear, like BitVM, CTV, LN symmetry, ARC, blah, 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 all that sort of stuff that's kind of been proposed and argued about on Twitter for the past 18 months. He gives a great summary of all of those. So if you're kind of that way inclined and you want to kind of get a good summary of that, then you can have a read of this. And if you don't want to read it, Mr. Guy Swan has done an audio version as well. So you can be a lazy bugger like me and just listen to it while you walk the dog instead of sitting there reading. But yeah, if you want to get your nerd on, check that one out.
I might actually do that. I feel like I'm very behind in all that kind of, I feel like I've switched off to a lot of like proposals and things because I'm just like, just when it gets a bit closer to the time, like when it matters, I'll pay attention, which is probably not the best approach. So I might actually have a listen to that. I definitely won't be reading it, but I'll have a listen to Guy Swan.
Yeah. There has been a vulnerability announced about older YubiKeys that are vulnerable to sophisticated cloning attacks. A cryptographic flaw in the YubiKey 5, a popular FIDO-based hardware token, makes it vulnerable to cloning if an attacker gets temporary physical access, researchers revealed last week. Okay. So YubiKeys are, like it said in the little blurb there, are kind of like these hardware security keys that you can use to kind of secure access to your various accounts online. They come in different shapes and sizes with marginal different features like fingerprints, authority, and things like that. The general gist is it's something that you have in addition to something that you know, like a password, to secure access to your online accounts. And it looks like one of them, the secure element on one of them, has been found to have a vulnerability. The attack requires an $11,000 equipment and advanced electrical and cryptographic knowledge, likely limiting it to nation states and similar entities in targeted scenarios. The risk of widespread attacks is extremely low, as is always the case with these secure element-based attacks. Like, it's not something that your average criminal is going to do in the street, but just something I wanted to raise awareness of because I know, we have some slightly more advanced users that probably use this sort of stuff.
They need physical access.
Absolutely, yes.
Okay. Stop giving people physical access to things that matter.
Here's a quote, actually. It's a great summary. An attacker could exploit this issue as part of a sophisticated and targeted attack to recover affected private keys. The attacker would need physical possession of the YubiKey, knowledge of the accounts that they want to target, and the specialized equipment to perform the necessary attack. Dependent on the use case, the attacker may also require additional knowledge, including username, PIN, account password, or authentication key.
Okay.
So don't want to ring too many, concern too many people. Like, as always, this is a very niche attack, but something that is worth knowing about.
I've got one of those, which I've started using and then just like, I can't be arsed with this shit.
Exactly the same. I've got one in my drawer that's got used like twice. It's
a good idea in theory.
Yeah, for me, I don't know. I just think 2FA apps are enough these days.
Okay.
With that said, I'm not like a on the edge
Google
journalist.
Authenticator, man.
Well, yeah, not the Google version. I use Aegeus, or however you say it.
Aegeus?
Aegeus, yeah.
Isn't that what the Rose Bowl got renamed to, the Aegeus? But isn't it an energy company, Aegeus?
No idea.
Pretty sure.
Aegis Authenticator.
Okay.
Is what I use. Quick update on the Samourai stuff. The case, they were due to have a hearing, I believe, on September the 10th tomorrow, but that has now been pushed back till September the 17th, which is a week on Tuesday. So obviously, as in when we get the court hearings from that, we'll share that with the listeners. But best of luck to the guys. Hope it all goes well.
Yeah. Been a very long time to be in that situation where you don't know what's happening. The stress for them must be massive. It's worse having to wait for someone to decide your fate. Just every day is going to be stressful for them. So yeah, sending love out to everyone affected. It's a shit situation, but hopefully it comes to a close soon.
Yep, another weekly or bi-weekly, fortnightly, twice monthly reminder, p2prights.org if you want to go and donate to the legal fund.
Yes. Oh, and before we move on, anyone who has ordered the free Samourai hoodies and t-shirts, we ran out of stock. They are being printed as we speak. So anyone who's been waiting for them, don't worry, your sats are safe. Your hoodies and t-shirts are being printed and those sats are going on to help Free Samourai.
Love to hear it. All right, should we finish off the boosts?
Yes.
Mr. boosted with 9,999 sats. RIP BMM.
Yeah, a little bit sad that really, isn't it, in a way?
Yeah, indeed, but it didn't kind of die, did it? It's just been reincarnated.
Reborn.
Now it's twice as good.
Like a phoenix rising from the ashes.
Ooh,
Beautiful
nice.
beast. Barn Miner. Nostr is the gay, dirty dick of Dorsey. Note from editor. Boob boost.
Do you get the reference?
Yes, I do.
Oh, okay.
8008.
Yeah.
Well, thanks, Barn Miner.
Another repeat booster, Mr. Ape Mithrandir, boosted with 7,777 sats. Max, thanks for selling your Bitcoin and guaranteeing the biggest bull imaginable. Your sacrifice is appreciated.
It hasn't happened yet, mate.
Yeah, don't hold your breath.
I did expect that was going to happen. We shall see. Either way, I'm happy. I'm a much happier human being than I was a couple of months ago, so it was worth it. Shadrach. If anyone can make this work, it's Max. We're here for you. Side note, I haven't listened to RHR since Nashville and was thinking last night I need a new technical news show that is not PodConf captured. Okay, well, I hope we can do that for you, mate. It's not me, though. Most of this comes down to the rest of the team who put in a huge amount of work to make this what it is, but I appreciate the kind words.
Pies boosted from Breeze with 5,000 sats, and he just said, yo.
Marcellus, 5,000 sats. Wish you all the best this new period in your life. Cheers. Thank you, mate.
Dave Smith boosted with 5,000 sats with just a smiley face.
Bubba, freedom of speech equals approved words. Congrats and good luck, Max. Q, thanks again for all your hand-holding of this old man on his Founders Edition. Bi-weekly, that's not a sexual preference, right? No, Bubba, it's not. I speak for myself, at least. I'm not sure about Q. Thanks for your sats and your kind words.
Wartime boosted via Nostr, 3,333 sats. Good show. Looking forward to more sweet, sexy tones of Max and the gang.
Yeah, that's right. Chad Farrow. Names don't matter. Just keep QnA in the art so I know which show it is. Oh, okay. Yeah, I like how we do that. People know what they're getting.
Chad Farrow boosted again, 3,333 sats, said, let's go.
Chad Farrow again, 3,333 sats. You guys are pulling a Peter McCormack. Oh, wait.
So,
fucking.
Yeah, I knew that would offend you.
It would. It does. It has.
At first, I wasn't sure what he was talking about, but Pete McCormack has recently sunsetted what Bitcoin did, and he's changing it to be a more broad podcast. I think he's going for Rogan type thing. So he's rebranded. So I think that's what Chad Farrow was talking about.
So, okay, that's fine.
I could hear you scrambling for the soundboard to get that one out.
Okay, all right. Fair enough. Very offended, but fair enough. Chad Farrow again. 2222 is indeed called a row of ducks. Quack, 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 quack.
I think you should read the next one in the voice, by the way.
Oh, fucking hell. I can't do the voice. No, I can't do the voice. I'm not doing it. By the way, I'll just zap Nostr NPub that I'm not reading on Nostr until you come over to play, Max. Smiley face. Yeah, I'm going to go and visit Solex soon.
Solex again, 2,121 sats. I didn't boost the last episode because I didn't want to get my rolling arse all over Max's face. No, I was traveling and listening while driving 1,000 kilometers overnight, and I completely forgot to boost later. Mea culpa.
He did 1,000 kilometers in one night.
Yeah, I'd love to know what car he's got.
Yeah, I would love to know. I think he's flying. That's what I think he's doing.
Well, he said
1,000
driving.
kilometers.
While driving 1,000 kilometers.
What's that? 650
it's like the length of the UK, basically. Yeah,
it is. Yeah, I drove up to Inverness recently, and that was about that sort of roughly that. Well, fair play. Obviously, has his right foot down hard. Rev Hoddle, join me for the first South Bend IN meetup, Thursday, September 5th at 6:30 p.m. Eastern.
which was 4 days ago.
Okay, well, I'm sure it was very good, and I presume they're doing more, so we'll read the next one, Rev Hoddle. I think I might have done this on the last episode anyway. I think we might have read this, which went live today, so we also missed that one. Fuck. Well, Rev Hoddle, thank you for your sats, and if anyone is interested in those meetups, maybe reach out to him. Maybe we'll talk about it on the next PMM as well.
Sweet. Pies boosted via Breeze, 2,100 sats. Yo, what up, my brethren? Fountain is unusable and completely broken for me, so I'm back to Breeze.
Fair enough. Pies again. Beers, mushroom.
What about the rest?
Should we split them? Do them at the end, or?
Yeah, no, pies is beers, mushroom, cigarette, strong arm, fist bump.
I don't see that. I don't have that.
Oh, okay.
I just have
That's
beers,
weird.
mushroom.
Well, I see them all pies. I see all of your smileys, and I just read them
This
out.
is-
The final
This
one's
is
a salute.
censorship. What's happening? Why is this happening?
I don't know. Let's blame Jordan.
That fucking sneaky bastard.
Blizzard with 2,000 sats said, I hope the life move works out.
Thank you, mate. Vake, ever since I was fired from my first job for stealing office supplies, Ungovernable Misfits has been my sole source of joy.
Having worked in an office job and stole lots of office supplies, I think, mind you, who doesn't work in an office and steal supplies? It's like kind of like a perk of the job, isn't it, really?
I don't think I've ever stolen office supplies.
Really?
Yeah, I've never worked in an office, though, so...
Fair enough.
If I did, though, I probably would.
I'm pretty sure in every office worker's home, there's like a drawer full of like staples and shit that you're never going to use.
But you've got to do it.
Yeah, because it's like, oh, you're keeping me here for 9 hours a day on minimum wage. Like, yeah, of course I'm going to steal your staples. FOMO Matronic boosted with an exclamation mark, and he did that twice. Thank you for both boosts.
Barn Miner. Gay flag, gay flag, gay flag, happy gay face, smiley face, hot dog, eggplant. He's actually written it. He obviously doesn't even know how to do these emojis. He's a miserable bastard, isn't he? He fucking hates lightning. He hates Nostr. What else does he hate? Oh, he hates Bitmain. Shitmain, man. Fucking shitmain.
We need people like Barn Miner to keep us honest, though.
We do. We love you, Barn Miner, and your little olive oil hooves.
Rot Elephant boosted 1,000 sats from Breeze with no comment.
EZ, or Easy, let's fucking go.
Closed Network boosted 1,000 sats on Nostr, said love the new name.
Yes. That's the first person who said they like the new name. That's nice to hear. Chad Farrow again. QnA, thanks for the Fountain Nostr breakdown and providing actionable feedback on the Nostr integration and not just fanboying over it since it has Nostr now.
That's what we do. Brother Abel, 1,000 sats on Nostr. Proud of you for being able to leave the fiat mines, Max. The work Jordan, Crown, QnA and John put in is incredible. Keep up the great work, my brothers in Christ, and God bless.
I love Brother Abel. Thank you, mate. And yeah, thank you to Jordan and Crown and John and you, mate, because this would not be possible otherwise. No chance. There's no way that everything would be done to the quality it is now. So appreciate you all. Anonymous, 1,000 sats. I don't know if this is prayer or hand clap, like a high five. Either one. A prayer or a high five with a coffee. Brother Abel again, a prayer, and then like a little cross thing, and then #latet, a heart.
Bitcoin Boomer on Nostr, 500 sats, said something different.
Okay.
Wartime, 420 sats with 3 laughing faces. Time, 375 sats. Twice a week, I heard. That's a lot of work. Humbly suggest you lay off the software updates, though. Very wide topic, and many other channels have good and/or specialist updates, but give it a go. I can boost the feed a couple of times a week. I reckon others will also support you, value for value. Appreciate the feedback, and yeah, we already do curate the software updates to stuff that kind of interests us. We don't really talk about, like, I don't know, as an example, the latest Coinbase feature or the latest eCash wallet or anything like that. But yeah, I will be making a conscious effort to keep these, as short, concise as possible. But I appreciate the feedback.
I appreciate the feedback too. But yeah, I think it's pretty concise, and it's always stuff that either we use or listeners use. It's kind of like relevant to the freedom open source sort of movement. So I think what we cover is pretty good, but feedback is appreciated. Mr. No message. Bon. Nostr Fountain Test 1. This working now? Question mark? Yes, it was. We just got it. Weird robot. Weird robot. 60 sats a minute. Thank you, mate. And Oscar Merry, 50 sats a minute. And John Salbeeks, 50 sats a minute. Appreciate all the people streaming. That's very, very kind.
Yeah, that's very cool. Very cool indeed. Shout out to Weird Robot as well. We didn't get to cross paths.
Is that you?
Nope, it's absolutely not me. And if you want to verify, Weirdo Robot has been on RHR before and you can hear his voice, so it's definitely not me. But yeah, him and I go way back for reasons that, I won't talk about publicly, but I hope you're doing well, my brother. Then we've got the first ever Monero boosts, Max. Do you want to talk about how and where people do this? Because this is a new one on me.
Yeah, this is thanks to Jordan. He's set up this XMR chat service where basically the same as boosting, but using Monero, people send us messages and send us Monero, which is really fucking cool. They go straight to our non-custodial wallet. It's done on-chain using Monero. It comes with the message. It seems to work really, really nicely. So I don't know how you did it, Jordan, but thank you for setting this up. Previously, we had the option where people could just message me, ask for an address, and then they'd send me a message. But what was happening is, because I'm a fucking idiot, I was then forgetting to actually read the messages. One of them I'm going to do today. But yeah, we had one from Opt Out with 0.115. DC786 is a homo.
He's also a legend, though.
He is a legend. He's definitely a homo, but he's a great one, isn't he? He's one of the best.
Yeah.
Fiat Demise, 0.006. Glad you're on XMR chat, free Ross, and free Pavel. Oh, Fiat Demise. Is that why you're laughing?
Yep.
You cunt. I was like, why is he laughing? Is it because the message is going to be funny? Because I hadn't read that bit yet. And I was like, the message wasn't funny. It was a good message, but not a funny one. And I'm like, Fiat Demise. Fuck you. You read the next one if you can.
Wild Child boosted 0.124 XMR. Says, I'm a wild child. Come and love me. I want you. Ungovernable Misfits is the podcast because I love what you do. Heart emoji and then the peace. Not peace. What would you call that? Where you got your index
hang
finger
loose.
and your... Really? Hang loose?
Yeah.
Is that what it's called?
Yeah, I have to remind John every single episode. Hang loose. It's an old surfer thing, isn't it?
Oh, I see.
Yeah.
60 boosts, mate.
60, but we got one more as well. Again, using Monero. This was the one I forgot to read, I think, from Carter XMR. I'm not going to say the amount, but it was a very, very generous... What do we call them? We're not going to call them boosts, are we? what would we call a Monero? Because it's not done in Monero chat. We'll call them XMR chats that come through there. A P2P XMR transaction with a message attached. We'll work on the name. He says, along with his Monero, cheers to all the ungovernable misfits. Free Samourai, free T-Dev, support FOSS, and remember what we're here for. I'm going to read that again because I hadn't read it previously and it's a very important message. Cheers to all the ungovernable misfits. Free Samourai, free T-Dev, support FOSS, and remember what we're here for. Important message there. And thank you, Carter XMR.
Yeah, great message. And thank you to everybody for your support. It really does help support the show and keep Max off the breadline. Right, updates and releases?
Yes.
Passport firmware 2.3.2 is now in public beta, although by the time that this is released, it will almost certainly be available as a main download. Ooh. The three headlines here, I'll start with the smallest one. We've added a connection flow for fully noded. We are now also support message signing via QR codes. Best way to do that is in conjunction with Sparrow currently. And then the headline for this release is ephemeral seed support, or as what most of the Twitter sphere is dubbing, seed signer functionality, which made me chuckle.
Yeah. Yeah, I've seen that.
And the seed signer guys are taking a victory lap on that because it's quite a big thing that, they've come very grassroots, and with this new kind of architecture and then all the main kind of hardware wallet companies are implementing the same sort of thing. So hats off to them for leading the charge on that one. So the headline here with ephemeral seed support is that you can kind of use temporary seeds in 3 different ways with Passport now.
Okay.
The first one being you can have a master seed saved permanently to the device like you would typically use it.
Yes.
And then you can temporarily load in a secondary seed that is saved on the device only for as long as it's powered on, or you go into the menu and then say, forget this seed. You can import that temporary seed via all the usual methods. So typing in the seed word, scanning a QR code, and that will, like I say, will be saved. Probably saved is the wrong term. It will be in the device's memory for as long as the device is powered on or you remove it. So once you've loaded that temporary seed, the device works in the exact same way as it does normally, but obviously you will be able to sign and connect, do all the wallet connection flows with the secondary seed that's loaded in. So that's the first way that you can use it. The second way that you can use it is that you can load from our BIP85 key manager any of those child keys. You can load them temporarily and then continue all of the signing and connection flows from any of those child seeds. And then the third way you can do it is that if you never want the device to store a permanent seed ever, then you can just, as you boot the device up and it's got no seed saved in it, instead of importing a seed permanently, you can just say import this seed temporarily and then import the seed by typing in the words or scanning a QR code. And once again, that seed that's been temporarily imported will only be in the device memory for as long as the device is powered on, or, well, in this scenario, it is just until you turn the device off. So that when you turn it back on again, you'll go back to the seed create or import screen and there's never anything saved onto the device. So you can very much choose your own journey here. You can have it fully ephemeral, or you can have a master seed like you normally would and then just load in all of your other stuff temporarily and with a quick QR code scan. Or you can choose a hybrid mode where you load, let's say you want to sign a transaction on behalf of your sister who's got one of your child keys from the key manager, rather than them having to go and buy themselves a hardware wallet because they didn't want the expenditure, or they don't, they just want to trust you to manage this sort of stuff for them while they keep a backup. Then you can just go into your key manager, load in sister key, and it's active on your device just for the time that until you turn it off, essentially.
Interesting. So someone could use this in the same way as Seed Signer, where they might have one of these steel plates with a QR on there. They could just scan that QR. They could sign whatever they need to sign, and then it's gone again. And so presumably then somebody just with one passport could also do their multi-sig in this way. They could still sign, even if they say generated a key on a seed signer and then had that on a plate, and then they generated another key with another device and had that on a plate, and then they generated a third key with the passport, which is actually stored locally on the device. they could just have that one device, sign the first one which is stored on the device, and then do the ephemeral scanning, the seed signer. What do you call it? The seed signer.
We call it temporary seed mode.
But what do they call it? The seed signer functionality.
Yes, yeah.
I'm going to go with that. The seed signer functionality, they can scan that and you could sign like a multi-sig with just one device.
Absolutely, yep.
Ah, that's really nice. I like that.
Yeah, if you're happy and comfortable with where those other seeds are stored and the mediums that you've got to access them, then yeah, absolutely, you can achieve that. That's the cool part about this, is that you can just choose your own journey. Like you can go full seed signer mode, you can choose a hybrid. Like it's pretty cool.
That is very cool. I have to say, it's not for me in terms of like storing a seed that you need to access regularly on Steel somewhere, because
Agreed.
I always think like if you need to, like if you store it on Steel and it's really long-term cold storage and you have a hiding place that is fucking impossible to get to, even for yourself, unless you absolutely had to, then I can understand it, having it totally offline, properly offline. But if it's something that you have to use relatively regularly to sign, then my assumption is it's not somewhere that is so secure because it's accessible to you, which means that if anyone ever finds that, they just have it. Whereas if you have it on a device like a passport, if anyone ever finds that, they still have to be very, very, very sophisticated to get access. And even then, they might not. So it's not for me, but it's cool that the option is there.
Agreed. Blixt wallet version 7.0.0 is now available. Improvements here are major bug fixes, syncing improvements, and an addition of Lightning Box, which is kind of like an LN URL, presumably a paid service, and a new implementation of Speed Loader, which is enabled by default for all wallets. And I'm just going to look to see what the hell Speed Loader is. Speed Loader syncs the wallet channel database on startup. This is important for payment pathfinding and will make sure you have an up-to-date database. So yeah, it's just in sync speed improvements. The reason I wanted to mention this one is I just wanted to kind of highlight the fact that Blixt Wallet exists, essentially. It's a kind of less loved version, I guess, of alternative to Phoenix and Zeus and stuff. Much less known for some reason. I'm not entirely sure why that is, because it's been around for quite some time, which is evident by the fact it's on version 7. So yeah, if you're looking for an alternative and you don't like Zeus or you don't like Phoenix and you want to try something else or want some extra optionality, give Blixt a go. You can kind of, once again, choose your own journey there. You can manage your own channels. You can use the lightweight node in the phone, which I believe is an LND version. So again, you can choose your own journey and it's quite feature rich. And I believe you can also manage on-chain stuff in there as well. Cake Wallet, you'll like this one. We were talking about this last time. Version 4.19.5 has been released. They've improved the Bitcoin fee calculation. They've also now defaulted to BIP39 style seeds, whereas previously, for some ungodly reason, it was Electrum style seeds. And you can also apply a Bitcoin passphrase when you're creating a wallet and not just importing one.
Yes, Seth messaged me about that, just saying they'd implement it, because we'd literally just talked about it on the last episode, hadn't we? I'd set one up and I couldn't see it, and then it was like, yeah, you can do it, but you have to import one from a previously created wallet. So good to see they've done that. They move fast. They're not fucking around.
Yeah, they release little and often, which is I like to see. So hats off. Nunchuk mobile apps, Android version 1.9.50 and iOS version 1.9.53 have shipped with improved coin collection settings, refactored sign inflow, and other bug fixes and improvements. Phoenix Android 2.3.7 has been introduced, and you can now have a custom PIN to lock the device. To lock the application, which can replace or can coexist with your typical screen lock that you would do to unlock the phone in the first place. They've also updated the iOS version 2.3.3 as brings in compatibility improvements for Bolt 12 payments. And then we are on to some new releases that I wanted to shine a light on. First one is Nostr. Clue is in the name that this is a Nostr related thing. Nostr allows users to send anonymous notes to the Nostr network without revealing their identity. For each note submission, the app generates a brand new key pair, sends the note through select relays, and then securely burns the key pair. which I thought was pretty cool for, I could see this potentially having a use case in the future as it gets developed for like whistleblowers and things like that.
That's exactly where my brain just went. Yeah.
Yeah. So very, very much needed, especially in the days of censorship that we live in. So hats off to whoever it is that developed that. And hopefully that continues to get built out and become more kind of feature rich so that, we can continue to have free speech without risk of getting yourself thrown in a gulag.
Be nice.
Jippy has been released. I probably butchered that name. JIPPI.app.
I reckon that's correct.
Has been released, and this is a gamified social education app for beginners to earn and learn about Bitcoin with others. Like the look of the UX and kind of the headline says it all, really. It's a Bitcoin education app that is kind of offers in-app incentives as well to kind of learn and earn as you go. Haven't tried it, but it could be useful for, if you want to do some lazy orange pilling, this might be the one for you to just, tell people to download this app and go through it.
Is that the one I shared with you the other day? Or was that was an on-chain thing?
That was a different one that I failed to bring up on the list, but once we get to the end of the list, I'll go and grab it because it is worth talking about. I was torn on whether to include this one in the list for reasons that will become clear in a minute, but I feel like it's important or potentially important enough that we should talk about it, irrespective of the drawback that I'll mention in a minute. NIM VPN is first commercially available VPN on a decentralized mixnet. So a lot of buzzwords and bullshit bingo there, which is what makes me a little bit nervous about it. But the public beta is now available for people to test for free. Basically, it's a VPN that runs on a decentralized mixnet. Let me get some. Here we go. NIM's VPN's anonymous mode uses the NIM mixnet to make traffic untraceable by routing it through 5 independent servers. Key strategies include data fragmentation. So they break up the data into fixed sizes and identically encrypted packets. They cover traffic by sending dummy packets alongside the real data. They intermix packets from different users, and then they add in timing delays. These techniques create network noise, confusing data surveillance, and offer impeding AI tracking by NetFlow.
I was going to say you're missing the AI buzzword.
Exactly.
Blockchain?
Mixnet, so close enough.
Okay.
Aside from the bullshit bingo, the main reason I'm a little bit wary of this is that they released it alongside a token. Now, I believe that you don't need the token to use the Mixnet, which essentially already tells you that the token is a complete shitcoin. And, here we go, disclaimer. The NIM project launched with its own token, though Mixnet VPN testers don't need to touch it. Otherwise, the implementation appears notable and something we should cover. Yeah. So the guys at No Bullshit Bitcoin share my kind of reluctance to kind of talk about this, but it does seem to have some good promise. And again, it's just something that I wanted to shine a light on to, make people aware of and maybe go and test it out. You don't need to touch the token, at least at the moment.
Okay.
The unanswered question I have here is, how does this differ from something like Tor?
Maybe it's more reliable somehow. I don't know.
Yeah, possibly it could be a speed thing. Yeah, maybe I'll come back in 2 weeks and have an answer to that one.
Okay.
Live Wallet has been released and is currently on version 0.7. Now, Live Wallet appears to be a pretty cool desktop-only, I believe it's desktop-only, application that basically you can import your seed to, or you can import your XPub to, or connect your hardware wallet to. It will obviously bring up all of your UTXOs. And it allows you to enter into different types of spending scenarios, such as different fee rates, Bitcoin prices, different combinations of how many UTXOs you're going to spend on the input side, how many you're going to create on the output side, such that you can see the total kind of fee percentage of any given combination of all those parameters I just mentioned. So it can allow you to kind of future-proof your wallet or your UTXOs in your wallet such that you don't get shafted in the future by, I'll use a simple example. If you've got loads of small UTXOs and then the fee rate goes up to consistently to like 2,000-3,000 sats per VByte, then those really small UTXOs essentially become instantly unspendable because it would cost more to include them into a transaction than the value of the UTXO itself. Now, that can be a difficult concept to gain, visualize, and to understand properly. The whole point here is that you can see that it's all color coded and stuff, and there's a little slider for the fees and stuff, and you can move it up and down, and then everything goes green, red, amber based on the parameters. And you can see, okay, shit, that UTXO is probably a bit small because fee rate 250 sats per byte. Then I'm going to lose 90% of the value of that UTXO to fees alone, as an example. So pretty cool. I haven't tested it, but I've watched a couple of videos on it. It looks very cool, very intuitive, and could be a good tool to have in your arsenal in terms of being able to construct the makeup of your wallet so that you're future-proofed for any given types of fee rates.
Very cool.
And that's called, have they got a website? Let me see. Oh, it'll be in the show notes anyway. It's on GitHub.
Okay. Cool. Is that all the updates?
That's it for the updates, my friend.
Should we check our new voicemail? I had a voicemail set up for listeners with questions or devs or anyone who wants to get in contact with us for the show, because we're changing and upgrading everything. So should we check that?
Let's do it.
This is Max and Q from the Bitcoin Brief. Sorry we can't answer right now. I'm busy editing and Q is in the gym training his calves. So please leave us a message after the tone.
We welcome topic suggestions, show feedback, and questions on anything Freedom Tech related. Please direct all number go up queries and politician simping to a nearby Twitter influencer.
To listen to your messages, for new messages, press 1. First new message.
Hi, this is Peter Schiff. I have a question on silent payments with Bitcoin. How are these different to BIP47 pay-in payments? I mean, what you Bitcoin believers don't seem to grasp is you can't melt down these transactions and make solid gold cufflinks out of them. There is no intrinsic value, and it is going to fail because...
Message deleted. For next message, press 2.
Hey Q, Max, Solex here. I was reading the article shared by QnA on Nostr with some classical recommendations as don't use even amounts because the change will be uneven and clear, and don't reuse addresses. But reading that, I was wondering if what if we put that upside down? If I pay, for example, a fixed amount from a bigger UTXO I have and split the rest in the same amounts, or divide by the same amounts and send those to other addresses. I'm not going to tell you if those addresses are mine or if I send it to somebody else. But what? The leftover, the remainder of the division, I would send to a reusable address that's agreed upon to be a donation between me and several other Bitcoiners, for example. That can be a direct donation address, or I trust the guys and one of them has the keys to the address we use. Did I now, by doing that, increase or decrease my privacy set of that UTXO I'm using? Or did I just make a fool out of myself? Thank you very much, guys. Keep on going. Free Samourai.
Okay.
Nice of Peter Schiff to get in touch.
Yeah, fuck that guy. We've answered that question, Peter, so many times on this show, that specific question. You just need to go back and actually listen to what we've said. I can't be bothered to go into that one. Fuck you and your stupid little cufflinks.
And thank you to Solex for our first voicemail. Before I go into attempting to answer that, because I was a little bit confused, not going to lie, how do people leave us voicemails? Like, if people want to get in touch, what do they need to do?
You can send me a voicemail, sending it directly to my Telegram. You can ping it in one of our groups and just at me or at Q. We'll put it in there. You can send a MP3 that you record, and you can send that any way you want to us via email, or, well, literally any way you want. Just get in contact, and if you have a question or a software update or a message you want to send, you can do.
Cool. Look forward to listening to those. Okay, so I'm going to have to go on how I interpreted Solex's question, and maybe correct me if you have a different interpretation of it, Max. But what he's referring to is maybe something I've said or an article I've written about spending habits and privacy. The one he highlighted was spending round amounts. And the way that this type of spend is interpreted by chain analysis cooks is basically that the round amount spend is always the spend and never the change.
Yes.
Which is, in fairness, true. And that's because us humans we have our weird ways and we like to send round amounts because it gives us that warm, fuzzy feeling. And chain analysis obviously know this. And what that enables them to do then is like highlight that, okay, output A is the spend. So we know that those funds are changing hands from A to B, or we can assume that that is the case.
It's a pretty good assumption.
Yeah. And that anything remainder, any of the other outputs, is the change. And that's going back to the original wallet, albeit to a new address, so that we know that those funds are still under the control of whoever we think that the person is that owns those addresses. So what Solex then suggested, I think, is that, okay, well, when I'm doing that, why don't I create additional outputs that are the same amount as the spend amount and send them to different addresses that I control or that some of my friends control? I didn't quite understand that bit, but I'll try and keep the analogy as simple as possible. He said, would that improve his privacy? Yes, it can. Yes, it would. What it would do is provide multiple possible interpretations of what's happening in the spend. So let's say that you're spending 1 million sats to Max and there's 10 million sats in change. He's suggesting that, okay, well, I get 10 of my own addresses and send the change in 1 million sat chunks to different addresses or to one address. Well, probably to different addresses would make much more sense. And what that would do is would provide multiple interpretations. So if you just applied the round amount heuristic, which these things are never applied exclusively, they're applied kind of in tandem with other assumptions or heuristics as well, is that all of the outputs look the same. So it's kind of a little bit like a coin join. So yes, it would provide you with kind of a little bit more obfuscation or multiple different interpretations of what's happening in the transaction. But what you've got to consider then is like I always talk about the kind of holistic approach of privacy and the fact that, okay, great, then you've got a good obfuscation from this transaction, but you've had to jump through some extra hoops and essentially create a batch transaction to your own wallet. What happens then when you now need to spend some of those UTXOs that you created, those 1 million sat UTXOs that you created, you need to spend some of those together. You've got to be very careful how you construct those future transactions as well, not to undo everything that you did in the first transaction. This used to be much easier with kind of the Stonewall algorithm that Samourai used to have, because it kind of used to take care of all of the nuances around that for you and only include certain inputs based on their previous history. You can still do this with Sparrow, but just by enabling the privacy button when you're creating a spend, and Sparrow will take care of that for you.
That's what that does. I've always wondered.
Yeah, it's essentially a Stonewall. Yeah.
Okay.
Now, Stonewall is a much more complex than the way I've just summarized it. What it will actually do is create multiple additional outputs, one of which will be the same as the spend amount, whether it's a round amount or not. And then the other two will be what we call decoys. Obviously, the people that develop this algorithm are far cleverer than I in terms of like the holistic approach. So rather than the manual method, I would say that Solex is suggesting, I would say just lean on something like a spend algorithm, like the privacy button in Sparrow, to be able to use that. Or obviously in Samourai, if you're still running that, because this is entirely client side, you don't need a remote server to be able to do that. So if you're still using Samourai, then the default spend type is a Stonewall, and your wallet will do all of those calculations for you. So I would try not to make it too complicated and lean on the expertise that's been put into that kind of algorithm.
Am I right in thinking that there's no fee outside of the actual transaction fees that you pay to the miners for the service?
Exactly, yeah. Everything's client side. It's just adding some of your own UTXOs to your transaction to provide multiple, or to increase the way in which the transaction can be interpreted, because there's additional inputs and additional outputs, so that it's not blatantly obvious that this one UTXO is being split into two. One is the spend and one is the change, because there's always at least four outputs.
That's actually probably going to be the best way to do it then. But it does kind of make sense. What he's asking is kind of like goes against what you're told.
Does, yeah, the principle does. However, there's kind of more elegant ways to do it that actually require the user to take less steps, i.e. just use these spend tool features. The only caveat being it's not really applicable at the moment because fees are next to 1 sat per byte. But in high fee environments, and I'm talking very high, like upwards of a couple of hundred sats per byte, then when you start adding in additional inputs and outputs, to any transaction just to increase the privacy of it. Obviously, you're going to have to pay for that because the transaction becomes larger in terms of bytes, and you're going to have to pay for that on-chain footprint. So it's going to cost you much more. But again, freedom ain't free, and neither is privacy.
Well, it would cost you less to do the stone wall than it would to do what Solex has suggested here, because he's saying like split it into 10 equal amounts, whereas this is going to do 4 less transactions, therefore less fees, but probably more privacy. So that would be the one to go for. One thing I always try to think about, if I am, say you have like a larger UTXO and you wanted to split it down while the fees are low, you can do that with a very random amount so that the input and the output, the change and the output are both random numbers that aren't correlated to a dollar amount or like a rounded amount on Bitcoin, which in my head would make it more difficult for chain analysis to assume what is the output and what could be a spend. And so presumably they'd put a question mark around it rather than, say you had 1 million sats. If you send 500,000 sats somewhere, they're going to go, okay, well, the change is this. That's the change. And they've sent it somewhere. And either they've sent that to themselves or somebody else, but the change has come back to them. But if you did it as like 38942, whatever, like random thing, and then the change is also going to be random, that creates 2 question marks.
Yeah, I think you're right. Anytime you can take steps where you don't send random amounts, it will be, a slight improvement in terms of it just kind of removes that initial assumption of, okay, it's blatantly obvious. I can see a random amount of 1 million sats being sent here. So yeah, if you're sending off to cold storage or anything like that, yeah, just pick an amount. Obviously, that will be predefined in your head. You'll be like, okay, well, I want to siphon off 1 million sats from my Lightning wallet to cold storage or something. Just like make it like 1,300,278 sats or something like that. Just like an inanimate amount that's close to your goal, just to kind of kibosh that initial assumption that would be applied to the transaction if it was just around 1 million sat amount.
Yes. I've always wondered something as well. Are chain analysis doing things like, I paid for a service the other day, I won't say which service, I paid for a service and I thought as I sent that transaction, maybe I should send slightly more to make it more difficult for chain analysis. And then I thought, no, I'm too tight to do that right now. And I also thought, I wonder if those people who are sending that larger amount are doing it because it's a rounded amount, whereas what I was paying for wasn't a rounded amount. It was quite a random amount. So I thought, would chain analysis look across services that Bitcoiners might use and pay for and then correlate, that was that amount in dollars at that time on that day, which would equate to that amount of sats minus the fees, because that was the fee rate. And that means that they were paying for this service most probably. Would they be doing that? Or is that like a bit too far?
I don't think they're that clever yet, to be honest. Okay. I might be completely wrong, but I just don't think they're there yet. They go for the lowest hanging fruit, and that's clearly not it. But if you're worried about that sort of stuff, use Lightning.
Yeah. Which is what I generally do, but not all services do that yet.
Yeah.
Do you know what I've also realised? And this may be a reasonable thing, and I'm like not understanding, but a lot of these services still use very old address types. And I wonder what the reason for that is. You don't get BC1, it's often 1. And you're like, hang on a minute. Like, is there a security issue that you're worried about? Because I'm not. Or like, are you just really fucking behind the times?
I think
like, why?
I think mainly like some of these services, they will have like rolled their own sort of Bitcoin checkout experience, and they would have custom coded it. And obviously it's quite a big uplift for them to move to change the address type. But potentially, again, I'm just guessing here, so that I just like, do you know what? Versus me spending 100 dev hours to update us to SegWit or Taproot, I'm happy to just continue with using our existing stuff that we know works. We've had it running for like 10 years. It's just the trade-off that they make. Again, just guessing. I don't know.
It seems weird to me And obviously it's higher fees and all that kind of stuff. And
only for them, it's not higher fees for the sender.
well, this is what I mean. It's like, okay, so how hard is it to make the changes? If you're saying, oh, it's 100 dev hours, where it's like, if they're a large service and each time it's less efficient for them, I don't know. Anyway, it doesn't really matter. It's just something I think about.
We do have a couple of questions. Oh, thank you once again, Solex, for your voicemail. Very cool. I would love to get loads more different questions, especially if they're a little bit more on the complex side. It'd be great to get those in voice format so that we don't have to listen to Schiff again.
That's the kind of thing that is explained much better via voice. Like when I read it, I was like, what the fuck is this? And then I listened to it and I was like, okay, no, I get what you're saying. And I like to think that we've answered that quite well. So happy with that.
Okay, so a couple of text-based questions before we sign off. Schrodinger messaged this morning on Nostr. He said, when Monero integration into Passport and what will it look like? Well, I hate to be the bearer of bad news, but I don't think there'll ever be an official Monero Passport integration into the device that you see on the market today. The main reason for that is we're very tight on firmware space, and to essentially make an additional version of that just for Monero, we just wouldn't have the space on the device to be able to store that much extra data. There is a community-driven fork of the software that obviously you could install using your own developer key, and obviously we'd never prevent that at all. But because it's community-driven and not driven by the company, the progress has been very slow, and I think it may have even ground to a halt. So that's kind of what we have in terms of an update on that side of things. I think it would be cool to do, don't get me wrong, but in terms of like the focus for us internally, we're just not at that point where we think it would be worthwhile to focus on doing Monero with the current device that you see on the market today.
Yeah, because I would imagine while Seth was with you, if it was possible to do easily, he'd have been badgering you all because he fucking loves Monero.
Oh, yeah.
So I assume that if it was simple to do and possible, that he would have probably got his way. But yeah, sounds like maybe it's not that easy.
Not with this device anyway.
No. Okay.
Last one, Rev Hoddle on Nostr, and this was accompanied by a boost, so thank you, sir. Tell me what you know about DLCs. Could they be used to handle deposit/refund mechanisms or to help create less gameable review systems? Ooh, okay. DLCs, discrete log contracts, is essentially a way of kind of doing trustless, almost trustless kind of smart contracts on Bitcoin. I believe they can also be done on the Lightning Network, but that's kind of a future thing. The most simple way to describe a DLC is to explain one of the very, very basic use cases. So Max, you and I could enter a DLC, which is basically just a multi-sig wallet with a third party, where we could bet on the outcome on the flip of a coin. I bet 1 million sats and I deposit 1 million sats into this wallet that it's going to be heads. You take the opposite side of the bet to say it's going to be tails. And then we have an independent kind of third party, also known as an oracle, who's going to be used as publishing the outcome of the coin flip.
The umpire.
The umpire, yeah. The coin is flipped, it lands on heads, and the oracle confirms via a Bitcoin signature that heads was the outcome. And in that signature, it releases all of the funds back to me. So I'm 1 million sats up and you're 1 million sats down.
Yeah.
That's a very, very, very simplified way of explaining it and how it works. There's a couple of things here that's worth spelling out. Number one, these oracles are built in such a way that obviously an oracle has got to be for a specific purpose because they need to report on a real world event, which is kind of like an unsolved problem where it's called, like, I think it is literally called the oracle problem, where you've got to incorporate real world data, in this example, the outcome of a coin flip, into a smart contract in a trustless manner. What most of the early DLCs are doing is that the oracle, whilst yes, it's reporting on a real world event, could be the outcome of a vote, an election, could be as simple as a coin flip. Whilst that is a real world event, the oracle itself has no idea that you and I are referencing that oracle for the result of our coin flip. So it's kind of like blinded in a way. And the whole point of that is that the oracle can't be biased. Now, I think the oracle problem states that, okay, well, yes, you and I are doing a coin flip and we're trusting this oracle, but you could be the one running the oracle. So if the coin flip doesn't go your way and you're the oracle, or you know the oracle, and you can say, hey, I got it wrong, but if you say that it was a tails instead of a heads, I'll give you 50% of the winning. Exactly. So to combat that, again, I believe there are plans, again, this could already be live, I'm not sure, where you can use like an aggregate of multiple oracles, assuming that you've got multiple oracles to report on the same event, real world event. So you can kind of mitigate it in such a way that you are minimizing the trust, especially with a single oracle. And obviously the larger the event, i.e., the result of the latest, I don't know, Manchester United football match, it's going to be easy to get loads of oracles. And even if you get 10 and 2 of them are untrustworthy and they say it was 3-0 to Manchester United when really it was 1-0 to Liverpool, the fact that 8 of them said the truthful one, then you can just use a threshold of those to kind of report that back. Does that make sense so far?
It does. And I would take it a step further. Could you not vet the source of the information that goes to the oracles that make the decisions? For example, you could say, well, they have to pull their data in from this website, whatever it is, like BBC or some sports thing or whatever.
Yes, you can. Yeah.
So you could do that. So you're not only having multiple sources that are feeding in this info, but you're also having multiple...
like sources of truth.
Yeah, oracles and sources of truth, which would make it much more secure, but only on large events. Like a coin flip is a much more difficult thing because no one else in the world gives a fuck.
Yes. And I think, again, no idea as to the progress of this, but there's also a way in which the oracle can put up like a bounty or a bond that if it's able to be proven cryptographically that they gave the wrong answer comparative to 80% of other oracles reporting on the same thing, then the people using that oracle will be able to steal whatever they've posted as a bond.
It's a bit like Lightning does that.
How you achieve that cryptographically, I've got no fucking idea, but again, that's what the clever people are here for. So that's like kind of like a high level as to what the discrete log contracts are for. RevHol says, could they be used to handle deposit refund mechanisms? Do you know what he means by that?
Deposit refund mechanisms. I'm guessing he means maybe like something, say in BISC or something like that. If a trade doesn't go through and then you've got your deposit that's being held, and does that get refunded? And is there a fee or something? Possibly. Like maybe something like that, or just generally deposit and refunds in terms of just a normal purchase, or he could mean in terms of like property deposits. And I don't know specifically what he's talking about there. To me, like the only thing that I can see this really working on is like extremely public data. So like it wouldn't work so well on like a coin flip between the two of us. It wouldn't work so well on like smaller deals between one user and another where like the information isn't public to many, many people and corporations and everything else. But for something like a huge news event, like a sports event or a political event or something along those lines, I could see this being pretty fucking secure if it was set up in the right way.
Yeah, I think the main thing is where you've got more than one potential outcome of a real world thing, then in theory DLCs can be applied to it. His other comment was, could it help create less gameable review systems? Now, I was trying to walk through how this would look in a DLC world, and I'm thinking like, okay, so if I go to the Apple shop and buy an iPhone and then write a review of it, where or how would I implement a DLC there to... I guess the impetus here is that Apple wants to ensure that I'm a real customer first and foremost. Yeah, I'm struggling to apply the DLC narrative to that kind of framework, but that could just be because I'm a nothing brain. But it's a good question. Made me think a lot, actually, that one. Because DLCs as a concept have been spoken about for, I want to say, like at least 5 years in the Bitcoin world. They kind of had a couple of applications or early applications released around them, but never seemed to take off as much as I thought. But again, perhaps that's because we were waiting for the Taproot upgrade to make cryptography side of things much more simple, because I vaguely remember a conversation happening where it was possible with the old ECDSA, but it was kind of a lot more Rube Goldberg machine-ish than in a Taproot world. So obviously we now live in that world, but we're yet to see, the really fancy applications that are built on top of that yet.
I'll tell you what you need to do. You sprinkle in some AI.
There we go.
That will fix it. But actually, seriously, it probably wouldn't be a bad shout if, like, one of the mechanisms could be that a search is done in, like, ChatGPT or one of these things to ask it about an event. And it would be pretty hard to fake that response, I'd imagine.
Mm-hmm.
A certain amount of AIs that had to be searched, and also a certain amount of news feeds that had to be pulled in from, then, yeah, it would work.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I definitely see them as a net positive for the network, especially I could see this being huge in the betting world.
Yeah.
It's like the basic application of it, right? Where you've got like a result and then two or more opposing kind of potential results. Like it's obvious that would be having that enforced cryptographically on the Bitcoin network would be great. Well, unless you ask Luke Dash, I'm sure he'd hate it. But
yeah, you could do it. I mean, all of this stuff I think comes down to just having a nice interface, because people fucking love betting. And on like silly little things that you wouldn't necessarily find in like your Bet365 or one of those like larger betting shops. Yeah, you can bet on like the football or a horse or something, but can you bet on all the political shit that's going on? Or could you bet on a bit like spread betting on like the stock market or doing all these kind of things? If you can do that with Bitcoin, and if you could do it with Lightning, meaning you could do like micro bets and you could make it quite fun and people could trust it, I could see that growing pretty quick. We've done almost 2 hours there, so I think we've covered everything. But yeah, I just wanted to say a huge thank you to all of the Ungovernable Misfits team and for everyone who's been sending in messages and boosts, and all of the people who have sent me personal messages in all the other platforms as well, just encouraging this move. And it's been really, really, really nice to see people supporting me. So I appreciate it. And I'm going to do everything I can to make Ungovernable Misfits a one-stop shop for all of your needs for staying free and staying out of the gulags.
Love to hear it. Onwards and upwards. Thanks for getting involved, guys. Free Samourai.
Free Samourai.